Okay, last of the Magical Madrigal siblings videos. Start off with the dog howling in the background again. Sorry. Um, okay, so I guess on that note, we'll just dive right into Dolores. Side note on that, one of the babysitters that I had for a very long time, from the time that I started kindergarten up through when I left elementary school, her name was Dolores and her husband's name was Dale, and they were just older couple that ran a daycare out of their home. And I'm pretty sure at this point in time either they're dead or much older at this point in time, probably because that was a while ago. But whatever. But back to this actual video. Dolores Madrigal, who is 21 years old. She is stated to be a couple of months younger than Isabella. So she's kind of been referred to as Isabella's shadow her entire life, or she's kind of this, she's in Isabella's shadow. And that is very much clear with her affection for Mariano, but also with the fact that she wants her cousin to be happy, and if Isabella would be happy with Mariano, then Dolores would be happy that Isabella is happy, which I think is a very good thing to have in regards to that. But in regards to this, Dolores is, of course, the oldest child of Pepa and Felix Madrigal. She is the older sister of Camilo and Antonio. And she is, of course, the cousin of Isabella, Luisa, and Mirabel, and the niece of course, Giulietta and Augusta Madrigal and Bruno Madrigal, and the grandchild of Alma and Pedro Madrigal. Get all that out of the way. And she's the second of the Madrigal grandchildren, as I mentioned. And her ability is this super enhanced, amazing hearing. And it's depicted as she can hear like the entire Encanto to a degree. So I'm assuming she's also kind of this representation of like, oh, if someone gets into the Encanto that's not supposed to be in the Encanto, she will hear it, and then she can inform the family or whoever else about the fact that there's just someone in the Encanto that's not supposed to be in the Encanto. Which is, I guess, a decent answer to have with that. She is also stated to knows everyone's dirt, which is true. So it's just like, if you're going to do something bad in Encanto, maybe don't, because Dolores will hear you. And she's also quite a bit of a gossip, because she can barely resist telling everyone at dinner that, oh, Mirabel found one of Bruno's prophecies, one of his visions and everything. And it's just so funny. I just find that so hilarious. But she is, I actually very much like Dolores's design. I was in, at one point I heard that she kind of gives off some Tiana vibes, which I can kind of see that there as well, that she kind of does give off a little bit of Tiana vibes from The Princess and the Frog. And I just realized I did not change my color in the background. There we go. Now we have yellow. Because each of the sibling sets kind of have different colors to a degree. Well, I mean, Giulietta has blue, and like all of her children wear a variation of blue, and then Pepa wears yellow, and then all of her children wear a variation of yellow, as does her husband, and of course Augustine wears blue as well. Bruno wears green just to kind of make him stand out, but I would assume by technicality that if any children he had, they would wear green as well, but he never got married. Maybe he tried like, well, maybe if I ask that girl out. Oh, no, vision. No, that wouldn't work. Oh, nope. Okay, I'll go hide in the walls then. That's more entertaining. But what we see with Dolores is she is, has this amazing hearing, and she is, of course, able to hear everything throughout the Encanto. But this also implies that she knew that for the past 10 years, Bruno had been living in the walls, and she even states that I knew that he'd been there and everything. But she never told anyone that he was there. She just lets everyone else believe that he left the Encanto 10 years ago instead. Whereas she could very easily just go, no, he's living in the walls. But she kind of knows, because like she's 19, or she's 21, so she would have been 11 when Bruno left. And she may have also decided that I'm not going to tell anyone because he left to protect Mirabel. And maybe that's why she doesn't ever tell anyone that she knows that Bruno is still within the walls of the house, that he's been there for the past 10 years, because she knows kind of some of that pressure, but she also, it's stated that both of them have something that's kind of a sensory-based gift. Like she can hear everything, and then Bruno is supposed to be able to see the future, so maybe she understands, like, he has this knowledge, and I have a lot of other knowledge about other people and everything. Maybe I should just leave him alone. That's a secret I can keep. And she does. She keeps that secret for 10 years, but she also says, I associate him with the sound of falling sand, which makes sense in regards to the fact that his entire freaking room is basically a giant sand mine. Entire sand cave. Cave of Wonders, everybody. From Aladdin. But Dolores seems to have a pretty good relationship with most of her family. She loves her parents and her grandmother, and she loves her cousins and her siblings and her aunt and uncles. She doesn't seem to have anything against Mirabelle or anything like that, although when Mirabelle does mention that, like, something's going on with the magic, Dolores just kind of says, oh, well, no, the only ones worried about the magic are you and the rats in the walls. And Louisa, whose eye was twitching all last night. And, that may have been, Dolores' kind of way of just like, well, I can't tell her directly that, Bruno's here in the walls, but maybe I can kind of like push her in the right direction to a degree. And then, of course, Mirabelle, of course, goes and talks to Isabella. Then eventually she ends up finding her way, to Bruno's tower, and then finds Bruno and everything. But we see that throughout the course of the movie. But then the other thing that we see is, of course, because of the fact that Dolores can hear everything within the Encanto, she knows what Mariano is really like. And it's not that he puts up this like fake persona to the rest of the town or anything like that, where he walks around and acts all sweet and then he's like horrible in private. That's not the way that that's not what Mariano does or whatever. I would assume if that was the case, I would assume that if it was the case that if, Mariano just like gave off this whole impression to the rest of the town that he was this very nice, very sweet, very, wonderful person and everything like that to the rest of the town, but he was actually like in private, like a very mean person, like either to his mother or just, very mean person, like, oh, I'm going to have so much fun just like making Isabella suffer or something like that, that I can assure you that regardless of whether or not, Dolores had a crush on him, she would be like go to her abuela and go, no, you cannot let Isabella marry him. He is a very bad person, type of a thing. I would assume she would do that, A, because it's the right thing to do, and B, to protect her cousin. Because the other side of that is she has this huge crush on, on Mariano, but she's also willing to let Isabella marry him. Without jumping in and saying, no, she can't marry him because I love him. She can't have him. He's mine, type of a thing. But she's like kind of thinking, well, if they love each other, then, if he loves her and if she's okay with the marriage, then why should I stop them from being happy together? And she doesn't. She even states that, Bruno had a vision about the fact that, her true love would be, her, dream, her Prince Charming would be, engaged to another. And he was. But that, that doesn't, stick the entire time, obviously, because by the end of the movie, Dolores and Mariano are now a couple by the end of the movie. And it is stated that, in regards to her room, even though we never see Dolores' room, that her room has a lot of soundproofing in the room. So that way when she's inside of her room, inside of her space, she can very easily, kind of muffle out the rest of the world. So she doesn't always have to hear everything that's going on inside the Encanto. She can go into her room and just have like a much more quiet place, like kind of have like a white noise or like a quiet place around her, I would assume, which would be a very useful thing to have, and the fact that I can hear everything. Jeff just fell down the stairs. It's just like I can hear everything within the Encanto. Bob just set his kitchen on fire. We're gonna want to go fix that. Just like that whole thing of like I can hear everything because like we see them sitting at like their table in the morning eating breakfast, and then it's just like, oh, do we have like a date? Dolores just like listen for a second to like the Guzman household. Tonight at 6, and he wants 5 children. God no. Not 5 at once at the very least. 5 seems like a lot in my opinion, but But again, 3 sounds like a lot. 1 sounds like a lot. But I'm not ready to have a child yet. But we see that there with her, and then moving on down to we have Camilo, who is the middle of his siblings, and he is 15 years old, so he's just probably like a couple of months older than Mirabel. So, you know, it would have been like he got his gift, and then a couple of months later was when Mirabel would have gotten her gift, but that doesn't happen. So, like, they would have been in the nursery for pretty much the same amount of time. Camilo is stated to be very much the theater kid of the family. This, you know, natural entertainer, fun-loving, easygoing, energetic teenager type of a thing. Teenagers that make me want to strangle them. Or just like, oh dear God, why do you have so much energy? Why do you have so much energy? I didn't have that much energy when I was a teenager. Why do you have it? All about theater kids. But his gift is, of course, shape-shifting. And he can shape-shift into humans. Pretty much any human I think that he's probably seen. And we see him shape-shift into his father, his sister, into Bruno. We see him shape-shift into other people from the village. There's like a mother that he shape-shifts into to watch over her baby. He shape-shifts into someone else that needs to be tall so they can get to a tall thing. He, you know, likes to change into Mariano to like, you know, mess with Isabella, which is funny. But, you know, he's not, you know, but he is not boastful or vain or anything like that in regards to his powers. He enjoys the spotlight and he likes to make people laugh and everything. So he tends to be very dramatic in what he does in regards to like, you know, tall tales out of like the way that Bruno used to be, you know, 7 foot tall with rats down his back and everything like that. And just like, you know, messing with, you know, Mirabel, because, you know, he would have the same memories of Bruno that she would have. He's just like a couple of months older. But, you know, Mirabel doesn't know that much about Bruno, but it may have just been that, you know, she at least knows what he looked like, and, Camilo knows obviously what his uncle looked like, but he just like likes to, you know, twist stories and everything like that. And he's probably heard like other snippets here and there. Oh, the dog's running around again. Heard snippets here and there about Bruno and everything, but he can shapeshift. It is stated he cannot turn into any animals, but he can shapeshift into people, and he can mimic their like physical strength, but he can't mimic their traits beyond that. Like he can, you know, shapeshift into them and like, oh, I need to be, you know, the taller person. Or like he can't shapeshift into Luisa and then like gain her strength. He can't do that. Or he can't shapeshift into, you know, Isabella and then like gain her ability to, you know, make flowers grow. Or he can't mimic his mother's ability to control the weather or anything like that. Or like by that extension, I'm assuming he can't like mimic someone, you know, change into someone and then, you know, oh, this person knows how to play the violin amazingly. Picks up a violin. Just like can't play it. Or whatever the case may be. You know, he can't mimic those traits, but what he can do is, you know, we see him, you know, hold, you know, rock, you know, and take care of a baby when like the mother obviously has been like reached her limits and just like, I just need to sleep, and he like shapeshifts into like the baby's mother so he can, you know, take care of the baby, shapeshifts into the baby's father and everything. He could probably shapeshift to like anybody in town. But I don't remember if he can mimic their voice or not. I don't remember that part. Because at one point he like mimics his father, and he's like making fun of his father, which is just hilarious. But like anytime that his emotions kind of go out of whack a little bit, his like shape-shifting ability gets a little bit odd. Like we see him at dinner when Dolores tells him that Mirabel found out about the vision. He messes up his own face. And then like later on he like is, you know, he keeps kind of shape-shifting as like stuff is like, you know, the house is not having a good time. He like shape-shifts all the time. And he just likes to, he likes to put on a show, is what Camilo likes to do, which is fine. But he does love his older sister, and he does love his sibling, his younger brother and his cousins and everything. But beyond like, oh well, we kind of need to know what Bruno looks like before we get into Bruno, so he can shapeshift into Bruno too, which is just funny. Um, and then we have the youngest Madrigal, the final Madrigal cousin slash sibling in regards to this side of the family. We have Antonio Madrigal, who is 5 years old at the beginning of the movie, and it is his birthday on the beginning of the movie, and he is going to get his gift, and he is of course the youngest child of Pepa and Felix Madrigal, and he is adorable, and it's just like, oh my god, he's so cute, I want one. But just like, oh god, no, I don't want. He's so cute. He's so cute and adorable. And so sweet. And he ends up, of course, he gets the gift of, he has the ability to communicate and understand animals. He cannot control them, but he can understand them. And they can obviously understand him in the process. But of course, our introduction to him is, of course, like, he's hiding underneath of Mirabelle's bed in the nursery, and like she tricks him with like I have a gift and it will self-destruct if you don't open it in 3, 2, 1. Grabs a box, she goes under the bed, and like, he opens the box, and it's this like adorable little stuffed leopard type thing that Mirabelle made for him. And she's like, I know that you're an animal guy. And that's of course prelude. I mean, like in the trailers we see that he gets a gift, and that it's the ability to speak to animals. Of course, we see that in the trailers. But it's also, he's just adorable, and like I love the relationship that they show between him and Mirabelle. On my mom's side of the family, I am the youngest of all of the cousins slash grandchildren, and on my dad's side, I'm like somewhere in the middle-ish. So I've got like, several cousins that are older than I am and several cousins that are younger than I am. And at the moment, the youngest of the cousins is still in high school, but all the rest of us have like graduated from high school. And then of course my nieces and nephew are, on the younger side. Well, one of them is graduated from high school, but the other two are in middle school. So, there are family gaps in the age groups and stuff like that. And it's just this whole fun bits here and there in regards to you get close with some cousins. I have cousins that I'm closer to than other cousins, and that's fine. I have other cousins that are closer to these other cousins than they are to me, or like whatever. I have no problem with that. And Mirabelle and Antonio seem extremely close to each other, which I love. In regards to the fact that they've spent the last 5 years in this room together, and Mirabelle probably, like, in the middle of the night, like if Antonio probably started to cry, like he would probably she would probably get up and try to like help him stop crying and everything like that, so that way Peppa could sleep, and so Felix could sleep, and so the rest of the family could sleep, and like she would probably take care of him. Doesn't diminish the fact that like Peppa probably also took very good care of her children. It's just Mirabelle's just like, well, I'm here in the nursery anyway, I'll just rock him so you can go back to sleep, or something like that. So she's being helpful to the family. But that's more a Mirabelle thing than an Antonio thing, sorry. But Antonio, of course, gets the ability to speak to and communicate with animals, which is just an adorable ability. We see him communicate with so many different animals. There's the leopard, there's the birds, the toucans, there's coatis, there are capybara, which are adorable. There's so many different animals that he communicates with throughout the course of the movie, which are so adorable. Like the rats told me everything, of course. In regards to that, and like all the animals running all over the place, and I love his room. It is just so huge in this indoor forest, which is awesome. And I love the Doctor Who reference of the kids of, oh my god, it's bigger on the inside. I love that joke. I love Doctor Who. tortoise in the background, which is currently being hidden by Hedgewood. Sorry. Um, but, throughout the course of the movie, Antonio very much helps Mirabelle. Like, he's like, oh, well, I want you to have a gift too and everything. And, like, the moment with him and Mirabelle where, he's going to be the one that has to, walk up the stairs to go and, like, open his door. And what happens is, he's just like so scared and he looks over and he sees Mirabelle there and he just like holds his hand out for her to come and help him. And she does come and she walks him, past not down the aisle, but like past their guests and like up the stairs to the door to give him this like courage. And he takes that courage and, he gets his gift and everything. And Mirabelle is so happy for him. The whole family is, of course, happy for him. And then he just like, I get a giant room full of animals and a snake and a jungle and just like, okay. Again, I wouldn't mind talking to animals, but I don't know if I would be able to then continue my actual, like, my regular eating habits with the fact of now I know how they feel. Um, um, but like, there's, Antonio is just this adorable little thing that, helps his cousin and helps his siblings. And, at the end of the movie, he's the one that, gives Mirabelle, the doorknob so she can put it on the door and get her, she could be the one to open this door, of course. And she's the one that opens the door to the casita, and then the casita comes to life again and everything. And then, like, then they all get their powers back and everything. But I just find Antonio so cute. I've said that like 7 times, I'm sure, at this point in time, or more than that. I don't know what the count was. But I just, he's the youngest of the Madrigals, and, maybe we'll see something else down the line. I would love it if they did a sequel to it. I don't know if they will, but I would love it if they did that. Just give us more Lin-Manuel Miranda music. That's fine. So, that's what we have for this. That's the last of the Madrigal siblings videos that I was going to do. So, I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video and the other two, and I hope that you have a nice rest of your day. Bye! Not if we don't have a house. What? We don't have a house. I can't say we don't have a house? What is that? Not a house.